Okay. You know what? I've been wanting to talk about some nerd news for a while. And I don't really have many friends to talk about it with, so I'm just gonna talk about it all by myself. Now. There's been kind of a lot happening with nerd stuff. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of Batwoman drama. There's all the stuff from DC Fandome. There's weeks and weeks and months of news that I haven't talked about, but that's okay. I'm gonna cover most of it, but not all of it. So, I mean, you can see some here on my screen. X-Men Legends number 12 brings back writer Chris Claremont. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some other stuff, but first, just to talk about some of the weirdness, some of the weirdness happening in with the Batwoman TV show. Season 1 had actress Ruby Rose as Kate Kane, Batwoman. I never watched the show. I planned to, but I just never got around to it. But like she ended up getting injured or something, left the show. It was all pretty quiet, and someone else replaced her for season 2 and all that jazz. But she just like released all this information about how she left the show because of how poorly it was run and how dangerous it was and all this other nonsense. And I didn't really pay much attention to it. And then all these other people from the production came out, like temps, interns, like co-stars, Warner Brothers themselves. They're all like, yo, this is all just false. Like, this is revisionist history, and it's just all a bunch of drama that I honestly can't be bothered with. But if you're interested in all that, it's out there, and you can hear all about whether or not Warner Brothers and their production is the enemy, or Ruby Rose is the enemy. I don't really care about all that, but whatever. Okay, then we had DC Fandome, where we got Super Pets trailer, Black Adam first look, Wonder Woman 3 was announced with Patty Jenkins coming back to direct, and Linda Carter, who will be in it, who was Wonder Woman in the 70s or 80s. We got a Flash sneak peek. We got a whole bunch of other random things, but those are the big ones. The Flash was whatever, like, cool. You know, Michael Keaton's Batman era. That's pretty neat. We saw Supergirl. I'm not a huge fan of Ezra Miller's Flash, but we'll see what happens. It's very clear they're doing Flashpoint at this point. Black Adam looks fine. We'll see if it is good or not. We'll see what happens. The Super Pets thing will probably just be a funny animated TV show with The Rock and Kevin Hart going at it around about whatever like they do. But Batman, right? That's what everybody's excited about, is the Batman. Some people are like, no, Robert Pattinson is terrible, he can't be the Batman. Some people are like, holy shit, this movie looks amazing. And I think it'll be different for everyone. Different people like different things. But I'm looking forward to the Batman. I think it looks interesting. It looks like we're getting a young Bruce Wayne here, who it's probably, obviously it's another like origin story, but we're going to focus on getting Bruce Wayne to where he eventually becomes who he's supposed to be. But this is like, hey, there's the whole I'm vengeance thing from the trailer, and it's like, his suit looks like a first rendition kind of suit, and the Batmobile looks like a first rendition. Like, it's like he's just starting out as Batman, right? And there's a lot that comes with that, and it seems like he's gonna just kind of be at first like angry, right? Which makes sense, like Batman's whole raison d'etre is like his parents were murdered in Gotham, and organized crime is a big issue, and crime in general in Gotham is a huge problem, and because of that, he is spurned to become the successful business person, and at night he's Batman to try to take on the criminals that the police can't because of corruption or because organized crime is just so rampant and overwhelming or whatever else. And so it looks like he's at the point right now where it's like, he's out for revenge. He wants vengeance, like he said. And I think we'll get a very angry, a very maybe naive in some ways Bruce Wayne here, who eventually grows to become a more mature, a more measured Batman. So I think it'll be interesting, and I'm very excited for that journey. Yeah, I honestly can't wait for the Batman movie, to be honest. The other big, not big, but kind of important thing right now is The Mandalorian Season 3 started filming, and I love me some Mandalorian. So that's it for like kind of a quick fire news round. But let's get into some of these articles. So I'm starting with the comic book news because that usually bores people, and I don't want to bore people, so we'll start with it and get it out of the way. So, yeah, X-Men Legends number 12 brings back writer Chris Claremont. Chris Claremont was one of the most important writers in X-Men history. He's coming back. He had this, he had classic Uncanny X-Men run. Not only that, but Chris Claremont, a lot of people regard him as like, the godfather of the X-Men, and he did so much for X-Men and everything else. And he did, don't get me wrong. I mean, I've met him and seen him at some conventions. He's not the nicest fella, but you don't have to be nice to be good at writing. So, yeah. Claremont's story picks up during the aftermath of 1988's Fall of the Mutant event and before the launch of Excalibur the same year. The former storyline memorably saw several X-Men go underground after the world believed that they had been killed. Among those in hiding is Rogue, and believing Forge is responsible for her quote-unquote death. Mystique goes after the mutant inventor in search of revenge. Meanwhile, Destiny recruits an injured Nightcrawler and Kitty Pryde in order to quote-unquote stop her partner from making a grave mistake. So, here's her cover. Nightcrawler, Kitty Pryde. Beautiful. Scott Eaton is the artist, joining Claremont. He's not a stranger to Marvel's X-Men comics. His artwork previously graced the pages of X-Men Endangered Species and X-Men Messiah Complex. Plus, the new issue's cover features art by Alan Davis, who created Excalibur with Claremont back in '88. This is what Chris Claremont said in a statement. It's always been fun wandering back along existing pathways, and especially having the opportunity to fill in a couple of nifty gaps that were initially skipped over along the way. Closing off one significant story arc and lighting the fire that ignites the series that follows. Talk about treat. So, yeah, if you're interested in that, February, Chris Claremont is back. We'll see if he still has it. Alright, on to what people would consider the more exciting news, right? Disney pushes back Marvel's 2022 films and Indiana Jones 5. Right? Okay. So, Doctor Strange, your first one, supposed to come out May 6th. It was supposed to come out in March. Sorry. Now it is May 6th, 2022. And that means Thor will no longer be in that May 6th spot. It is moving to July 8th, 2022. Black Panther then leaves its spot November 11th, 2022. And that in turn pushes back Captain Marvel, the Captain Marvel sequel called The Marvels, to February 17th, 2023. Additionally, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania has been shifted to July 28th, 2023. And then Indiana Jones has also been pushed back. But yeah, it'll be interesting. who knows what this has to do with? It could have to do with production issues or other things happening. Moving out of March for Doctor Strange, it's no longer competing with the Batman, but it'll be interesting. It will be interesting. It's unfortunate when things get pushed back, but it happens, especially like right now in this day and age. It's gonna happen. So, I mean, there's not really much else to say. These films are probably some of the most highly anticipated films coming. I mean, after Spider-Man: No Way Home, with all the, Doctor Strange is gonna be crazy. Thor: Love and Thunder is gonna be crazy. Like, I don't know about how people feel about Black Panther right now, but the Marvels, if it has, truly, like, it should have Spectrum. It'll have obviously Captain Marvel. Maybe it'll have Kamala Khan's Miss Marvel, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania with Kang. I mean, lots of interesting stuff happening. On top of that, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 cast Will Poulter as Adam Warlock, right? And when this broke, it really baffled me. I was like, yo, really? I only know this kid from, like, We Are the Millers and stuff, which, I don't watch a whole lot of movies. My friend made me watch that, like, at his house one time, and I was like, whatever. And he was just, like, a weird kid. Little did I know, this guy's actually English. He's from the UK. And I saw him at an interview for the Eternals. Like on the red carpet for Eternals for like the world premiere, whatever, where all the celebrities and people who know them get to go and watch the movie ahead of time. And I saw him get interviewed, and like, yo, I'm pretty sold on this guy now. I think he will have the look. He'll have I think he'll have a good voice for it. Yeah, we'll talk about Adam Warlock from the comics. Adam Warlock was created by the scientists in the Enclave in an effort to make the perfect human being. After his birth, he rebelled against his creators and escaped to the far reaches of space, where he eventually found refuge on Counter-Earth. The MCU retconned his origin by having the Sovereigns create him as a weapon to use against Peter Quill and his teammates. Warlock also played an important role in Marvel's original Infinity Gauntlet storyline, as well as its follow-ups, including the Infinity War and Infinity Crusade. Yes, him and what's her name? Jesus. Don't tell me. Nebula. They played a big role in stopping Thanos. Yeah. So I don't know about this word retconned. They retconned it. I wouldn't say that the MCU retconned it. I say the MCU appropriated his origin for their own purposes, because we can't look at the MCU or even any adaptation. We can't look at it as a direct translation. It's kind of a work of its own. In the MCU, while it takes from comic books a lot, it also does its own thing, its own stories, its own unique whatever. And so I don't think the word retcon is correct. I think it's just they appropriated it. Yeah. And James Gunn welcomed him. Okay, I don't want to open Twitter. Yeah, so cool. All right. In addition, Marvel is developing a WandaVision spinoff. So there's all this news about Catherine Hahn and more Agatha and all this stuff. And, here it is. Hahn signed a larger deal with Marvel Studios that will include appearances in other films and streaming shows. I trust Marvel. All right. I trust Marvel a lot. I think they've done a great job. I think that they've surprised me in a lot of ways. They haven't made many missteps. I do think WandaVision was the best of the Disney Plus series so far. There can be arguments for Falcon Winter Soldier not being great. There can be arguments about that. There can be arguments about Loki kind of falling off after the first couple episodes. I think all the series had a lot of great moments and were really good overall. But there were issues, I would say, with a couple of the shows along the way. But WandaVision was definitely the best, and Agatha was great, but I don't really think she needs her own TV series. And I don't really think we care to see her a lot and much more. I mean, here's the thing, right? Agatha is obviously Agatha Harkness is a very important character in certain Marvel storylines. But how much of that would be too much is the question, right? And again, I trust Marvel. I trust that they'll find a great balance. I trust that they know what they're doing. So I'm not too worried about it, but that's just kind of where I'm at right now. So short prize character from the first TV series in MCU. Details on the upcoming project are still under wraps, but it is described as a dark comedy. Rumors indicate that WandaVision head writer Jacques Schaefer will write and executive produce the spin-off series. Agatha was first introduced in the MCU in WandaVision. She introduced herself as Agnes and acted like a nosy neighbor before unveiling her real identity. In episode 7, okay, these are spoilers if you haven't watched it, so I'll just skip it, but yeah. I mean, I'm sure you guys all know. So this has got the world in a titty. Superman's son, Jonathan Kent, comes out as bisexual in Son of Kal-El. Not only this, the DC changed Superman's slogan, Truth, Justice, and the American Way, to Truth, Justice, and a Better Tomorrow. I don't really care, to be honest. I think people are upset about it because they think it's fighting America, maybe, because, America isn't just what we think it is. America is definitely much more than that. The idea of America, that people want to come here for a better life, usually, and things like that, and what America represents to the world. A lot of people do believe in that and believe that resonates with Superman's original kind of messaging and meaning and whatever else, right? But I don't think it matters that much. And even before the American Way thing, like that wasn't always his slogan. It became that, but again, whatever. I don't really care. A lot of people are very angry, and I'm scared if I read the comment section of this article about Superman's son, Jonathan Kent, coming out as bisexual, because I've seen plenty of people already angry about it. Same thing with Tim Drake. Third Robin came out as, was he bisexual or gay? I don't remember. But people are upset about it. And it's like, I get it. Especially with Tim Drake, he's been around a long time, and a lot of people are like, why change characters that have been around for so long, or why, and Jonathan Kent is kind of an exception to that, like, but people are still upset about it because it's like, he's still like Superman, or, it's difficult. It's difficult. A lot of people are like, well, why not just make a new character who's bisexual or part of that community, that, and build that on its own, instead of taking the names of legacy characters and making them. And I can understand arguments, honestly, on either side when it comes to things like that. It's like, on one hand, like, a character should be popular for being a great character, and if you make a new great character who is part of the LGBT community or whatever else, then that's great. That's amazing. And it speaks to the merit of the character, because being gay or bisexual or trans or whatever else, while, oh, jeez, I got loud. While that is part of who you are, it's not your entire identity, right? Not everything in your life is going to be dictated or predicated on the fact that you are, you love someone of the same sex or opposite sex, or you're transgender or whatever. Like, it's not your entire personality, right? Whereas I think a lot of people think that it is, like, it's so odd to me. Because I feel like when we don't understand something, we make a lot of assumptions, and we think like we know it better than we actually do, or we think about things very unilaterally or like one-dimensionally, and it's like things aren't always like that. Like, not every person who is gay wants to talk about how gay they are and how all they want to do is kiss people of the same sex and all this stuff. Like, that's just not the case. Like, I mean, I know gay people, and I've spoken with gay people, and like I've spoken to gay people where we've never once talked about their sexual preference or their life as a gay person. Like, we just talk about what everybody talks about: food and TV shows and movies and personal interests and stuff. And it's like, I don't get it. It's like, I get why it's a big deal with comic books, movies, and stuff, like making characters that represent people of a certain community, because seeing that themselves represented is important to them, and it shows them like it's okay, and it normalizes it, and it shows other people it's okay, right? And so like it's fine. Like, I had no problem with this, especially with the people like Jonathan. I had no problem with it with Alan Scott, which I know a lot of people did, but this is just the reality of how things are, right? Like, they're not making Bruce Wayne gay all of a sudden. They're not making Superman gay all of a sudden, or what, like. And even if they did, right, I don't see the problem with it. And people will say, well, there's all these years of history of them being with women. Yeah. Well, the thing is, people change all the time. And there are a lot of people who are gay or bisexual or whatever else that are just now feeling okay to express that to the world, where their whole life they covered it up, right? And so it'd be interesting to see a character like that as well. It would. And you'll always get people who push back against it, and they'll say, I don't have a problem with gay people, but like, they don't have to be all up on our face, and they don't have to show it on us. And I can understand that a bit too, because a lot of people like aren't there yet. They're not ready yet, or they feel like everything is being changed and forced on them, and it's like, it can be tough, right? And on one hand, it's like, get with the times or be left behind, and on the other hand, it's like, we have to try our best to build understanding with people like that, so that we don't force them further into their corner and radicalize them even more, or radicalize them to begin with. Like, the more understanding you can build, the more you can bring people along on the journey, the more you can build acceptance. I mean, and you look at things again, like, I don't know if I brought this up before, but like, you look at things like how many Americans approved of of interracial marriages throughout American history, right? Look at where we were even 50 years ago, and look at where we are now. Like, you can look at the percentages. Like, now I think we're like 96% or something approval, which is like still crazy that there's 4% of people against interracial marriages, but whatever, that's almost negligible. But 50, 60, 70 years ago, it was like 12% approve or 20% approve. Like, and look how far we've come, right? Like, and people say, there's been no progress, and, America's a hateful country, and whatever. People can say what they want, but there has been progress. And, America today isn't America even 100 years ago. Like, the things we were founded on, the things we were based on, are still important values at the core of them, but the shape of America, the shape of our nation, by its virtue of existing, is made up of the people, right? It's reflected by the people. And when the people are overwhelmingly one thing, America is overwhelmingly that thing, right? So even though America might not be what you want it to be right now, maybe one day, 50% plus of the people will agree with you, and then it will be that thing. And if they don't, then, well, whatever side you're on, then you have to be okay with that, right? You don't have to be okay with it, but you have to accept it, because that's how it is. So here we go. I'll read the article now. So I guess that when this was released, October 11th, is National Coming Out Day, in a show of solidarity with the LGBTQ plus QA plus whatever community. DC has made a surprising announcement about one of its new superheroes. The publisher has confirmed that in an upcoming issue of Superman, son of Kal-El, Clark Kent's son, John, will officially come out as bisexual. After a brief stint as the latest character to take on the mantle of Superboy, John began filling in for his famous father as the new Man of Steel, when writer Tom Taylor and artist John Timms launched Son of Kal-El back in July. The Half Kryptonians coming out party will take place in the series' 5th issue, which hits stores next month, and I bet you they will sell out. Additionally, the object of John's affections will be Jay Nakamura. Jay is a reporter with whom John began a casual friendship with in issue number 2. Who said this? Tom Taylor? Must be? Yep, Tom Taylor. He said, I've always said everyone needs heroes and everyone deserves to see themselves in their heroes, and I'm very grateful DC and Warner Brothers shared this idea. Superman's symbol has always stood for hope, for truth, and for justice. Today, the symbol represents something more. Today, more people can see themselves in the most powerful superhero in comics. John won't be the first major DC character to come out as bisexual this year. Back in August, Tim Drake was also retconned as an LGBT hero in Batman Urban Legends number 4. This announcement also underscores the company's push toward a more inclusive industry. Jim Lee gotta be. Yep. Jim Lee said we couldn't be prouder to tell this important story from Tom Taylor and John Timms. Jim Lee is DC Chief Creative Officer and publisher. We talk a lot about the power of the DC multiverse in our storytelling, and this is another incredible example. Now we can have John Kent exploring his identity in the comics, as well as John Kent learning the secrets of his family on TV on Superman and Lois. Yeah, they coexist in their own worlds and times, and our fans get to enjoy both simultaneously. So there you have it. That's the news. We can look at the comments, man. We can look at them, but I'm scared. Okay. Oh, I don't think there's any comments. They probably turned off comments for this, to be honest, which I don't blame them. All right. So I'm not sure what anybody else thinks about this, but it's the reality of our world. There are gay people, there are bisexual people, there are transsexual people, there are people struggling with their identity every day. And even though they're not like quote unquote a huge proportion of the population, whatever it is, like these people exist and deserve to be recognized and deserve to be represented, and it shouldn't be like an overwhelming representation, but like I don't see a problem with it at all. So that's my take. Okay. Lucasfilm has announced new Star Wars books starring classic characters. Now, Star Wars books have been great for a long time. A lot of them have. Personally, my favorite is the Darth Bane trilogy. But seeing, a lot of people love like some of the Thrawn novels, a lot of the classics. I mean, I have quite a few of them, and they're very enjoyable reads. So, most of Lucasfilm's current publishing slate is focused on exploring unseen corners of Star Wars history through the High Republic initiative. Okay, I started reading High Republic, but I haven't gotten very far into any of them. I have like 3 of the books, but regardless, there's still room for new tales happening around the ever-popular Skywalker saga. That's why the studio is gearing up to release 4 new novels set during the original and prequel trilogies. All of these books will hit stores in 2022 and feature some of the franchise's most enduring characters. First up is Adam Christopher's Star Wars Shadow of the Sith, which will be out June 28th, 2022. The book takes place between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Set some time before he exiled himself to Octo, the novel will show Luke Skywalker plagued by visions of the dark side's resurgence. Lando Calrissian informs him of a new Sith threat. Their search ultimately leads them to the planet Exegol, the site of Emperor Palpatine's controversial resurrection in The Rise of Skywalker. Interesting, right? This is interesting. And you know what I'm very interested in is the rise of the First Order, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me overall. And I'm interested to hear more about that. The Mandalorian also takes place in this same time period, in this space. So I'm interested to maybe see if there's any crossover there. I hope there really isn't, because I've said this for a long time, but when you introduce like familiar characters or familiar things over and over, in new spaces, it definitely makes your world feel smaller. And Star Wars shouldn't feel like a small world. So, interesting. Additionally, the book will shed new light on Lando's kidnapped daughter, who is rumored to be Naomi Aki's Jannah. The Sith assassin Ochi will also play a role in the book as he hunts down Palpatine's granddaughter Rey. Interesting. Okay. May 10th, 2022, Del Rey will release Mike Chen's new novel, Star Wars Brotherhood. The story winds the clock back to Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker's battles during the Clone Wars. After an explosion devastates the Trade Federation's base on Cato Nemoida, the two Jedi Knights are tasked with discovering the culprit. The novel will see the return of iconic Clone Wars villain Asajj Ventress. Also interesting. I feel like they did explore. There are a lot of books exploring the Clone Wars, so... but we didn't ever find out what happened to Cato Nemoida. That was referenced in Revenge of the Sith. So yeah, could be interesting as well. And Obi-Wan is one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, and I really like Anakin and most things that aren't the movies. I think Revenge of the Sith was really good, but yeah. Lucasfilm is also releasing a new anthology collection titled Star Wars Jedi and Sith on June 7, 2022. Aimed at middle grade readers, the book features new stories from Rosanna E. Brown, Sarwa Chada, Delilah S. Dawson, and more. Finally, Kirsten White's Star Wars Padawan will go out on July 26, 2022. It will focus on Obi-Wan's training with his master, Qui-Gon Jinn. Very interesting. I love Qui-Gon Jinn. So yeah, I'm pumped, man. I'm looking forward to those books. I like reading, and I like Star Wars. So, very excited. All right, and finally, news just broke yesterday. New news. Sorry for breaking your ears. This just broke yesterday. Ahsoka brings back Hayden Christiansen as Anakin Skywalker. So, Obi-Wan Kenobi comes out next year on Disney Plus and will feature Hayden Christensen's return to the role of Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader for the first time since Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Sorry, my mic keeps like going high, going low. Nobody knows. But his return to the franchise isn't stopping there. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Christensen will once again reprise his role in Star Wars Ahsoka. Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy announced Ahsoka during last year's Disney Investor Day presentation. She also confirmed that Rosario Dawson will return as Ahsoka Tano following her critically lauded appearance in The Mandalorian Season 2. The new Ahsoka series will take place 5 years after Vader's death in Return of the Jedi, which makes Christensen's casting somewhat surprising. Regardless, it's possible that the filmmakers are including some flashback scenes between Anakin and Ahsoka, or perhaps Anakin will appear as a Force Ghost in Ahsoka's present. The new series will mark the first time that Anakin and his Padawan have shared the screen in live action. After Ahsoka was introduced in the Clone Wars movie, their relationship was explored even further in the series. They also reunited during the second season of Rebels, which ended with Ahsoka dueling her old master. Production is expected to begin early 2022 on Ahsoka, blah, blah, blah. Are you excited? Yes, I am. However, there could be issues. There could be issues with this. What are those issues? That's yet to be seen. But I feel like the sequel trilogy really created some trouble for Disney, because the thing is, if he shows up as a Force Ghost to talk to Ahsoka, why did he never show up to talk to Ben? Right? Like, this is his literal grandson, and he just doesn't show up. He doesn't show up even to communicate with Luke, as far as we know. Maybe he did. Luke, his own son. He didn't show up as Anakin to talk to his own son. You have Kylo Ren, who turns evil in the name of Darth Vader. And you don't have the guy who became Darth Vader saying, yo, why are you doing this in my name? And also, look how well that fucking turned out for me, buddy. Instead, he shows up only to talk to his former apprentice. Which maybe that's how Force Ghosts work. Maybe you can only show up as a Force Ghost and commune with an apprentice or someone that you trained. Maybe that's how it worked. Then again, Anakin Skywalker showed up at the end of Return of the Jedi, and Luke saw him. But maybe he couldn't communicate with him because he was an apprentice. We don't know how this all works. We don't know much about it. It would be interesting if it worked that way. And the idea of Force Ghosts in general, right? Like, how far do we take that concept? What does that fully mean? Can anyone become a Force Ghost? Obviously, we know you have to learn how to do it. Qui-Gon taught Obi-Wan. Or Qui-Gon taught Yoda. Yoda taught Obi-Wan. But who taught Anakin? How did Anakin become a Force Ghost? How did he learn to communicate? Maybe he didn't learn to communicate. Maybe he only knew how to become a Force Ghost, and he can show up, but he can't communicate. But then how, in this series, would he be a Force Ghost? See, we don't know. Flashbacks make a lot of sense. They do. Force Ghosts, it seems like dangerous territory. But we'll see. We'll see. Either way, I'm excited. I think this is good news. I think most of the news we talked about is good news, to be honest. And, I mean, on top of all that, there's just so much going on. There's so much to be excited for in the nerd world and everything else. It's just a lot. It's a lot. And you know what? This episode is going to be published on the TheNerdLedger. And you know what, you guys, on the TheNerdLedger, I'm sorry for lack of episodes. I'm sorry, okay? But stick with me, guys. Okay, hold up. I gotta tell you, Chair, right? Who is the co-host of the TheNerdLedger, my buddy Chair. He's got a lot of stuff happening, so he hasn't been able to podcast, which is fine. I don't hold anything against him. I love the guy. I wish him all the best, and I can't wait for him to be ready to podcast again. Because, look, we got to talk about a lot of things. I don't even know if he's seen a lot of these things. We got to talk about the Suicide Squad movie. I've talked about that. I've talked about Shang-Chi. I've talked about Venom. But I haven't talked about it with him. So if he's seen them, I want to talk about it with him. We got to talk about What If. We got to talk about some of the Lord of the Rings news, man. For that series. We got to talk about Dune. Dune just came out. I watched it. He watched it. I know he did. He loves Dune. He read Dune. I never read Dune. I think we got to talk about it, man. We got to talk about it. And I can't wait to talk about it with him. It's going to be great. I think it's going to be a fantastic conversation because you know what's boring? Me just sitting here rambling all by myself. You guys probably stopped listening like 25 minutes. Excuse me. But you know what? That's fine. That's fine. Because once he's back, the interest will be peaked again. It will be peaked. Okay? It will be. Because you know what? You guys might not like me. I might not be very likable. But Chair's a likable guy. Alright? This will also be on the YouTube channel. Alright? But you know, that's because I'm making it a video form. So, my YouTube, KaJetheHammer. Yeah, if you're listening to the podcast version, you can check it out. I've been posting my my Lord of the Rings, my Lego Lord of the Rings walkthrough up on there. Very exciting stuff. I got like 4 of those so far, like 4 or 5 hours of content right there if you're bored and want to watch a loser in their 20s play Lego Lord of the Rings. Pretty neat. Pretty fucking neat. Sorry. But yeah, very exciting. Speaking of the Lord of the Rings series, that comes out like in a year, and I'm super duper buzzing for it. Okay, I can't wait. Also, I mean, I'll say that. There's so much to talk about with Dune coming out and stuff. There's a lot, and I'm just super excited. I'm looking forward to the future, man. To everything, and I hope I can start podcasting more consistently and everything else, and you guys will be around and you guys are interested in it, because I enjoy talking about these things. I want to talk about it with some friends. I might have some other friends who want to come on and bullshit with me, so that'll be cool. I'll be streaming hopefully more often when I can. Work is still taking up a large portion of my time, but it's okay, because work is always there, and you know what, work requires a lot of us sometimes, and that's cool. You know, I don't mind working, but I want to put more time, more work into this as well. So thank you for watching or listening, whatever you're doing. You can like and subscribe to this video and this channel. If you're watching the video, you can rate and review and subscribe on the podcast version. It's all appreciated. It all helps people to find content like this if that's what they're interested in. If this is something you like and you know people who might like it, tell them. Okay. Much love. Thank you. Peace out. Webs up. All of that bullshit. Much love.